When the satellite phone crackled in that cramped tent in northern Syria, the voice on the line cut straight through the desert wind. Mr. Hassan Malik, this is the hospital in Lahore. Your daughter is in critical condition. My knees gave way. I was 47 years old, a security consultant on a secret mission no one back home was supposed to know about. And in that single moment, the smell of diesel and sand, the distant rumble of artillery, everything disappeared. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears and the doctor's next words. She's in the ICU. We need you here now. My name is Hassan Malik. For 20 years, I had built a quiet, steady life in Islamabad with my wife Aisha and our 2 children. Every morning, the house smelled of fresh paratha and cardamom chai. Aisha, 45, would place a warm cup in my hands, her fingers brushing mine the way she had done since the day we married. Eat properly, John, she would say softly, her eyes full of that gentle light I had fallen in love with. Fatima, our 19-year-old daughter, was the heartbeat of our home. She studied medicine at the university, books scattered across the dining table, her laughter ringing out whenever Bilal, 16, teased her about her doctor handwriting. Evenings were simple: rice, dal, the television murmuring in the background. The 4 of us squeezed on the old sofa. I was the one who fixed the leaky tap, who drove Fatima to her exams, who told Bilal stories of my younger days in the army. We were not rich, but we were whole. When the confidential assignment in Syria came through, an urgent security detail for an international aid convoy in a high-risk zone, I sat Aisha down in our tiny courtyard under the mango tree. It's dangerous, I told her, but it's important work. She held my hands, voice steady though her eyes glistened. Go, Hassan. We will pray every day. Just come back to us. Fatima hugged me at the airport so tightly I could smell her familiar rose shampoo. Study hard, Beta, I whispered. She nodded against my chest. I will, Abu. Come back safe. The first weeks in Syria were brutal. Long nights, the taste of dust in my mouth, coded calls only when the satellite allowed. Aisha's voice on the line was still warm. Fatima topped her midterms, she would say proudly. But slowly, something shifted. Her answers grew shorter. When I asked to speak to Fatima, she hesitated. She's sleeping, John. She's fine. I heard the tiny tremor in her tone, the way she changed the subject too quickly. Fatima's own calls became clipped, her usual sparkle missing. I'm okay, Abu, she would say, but I could feel the lie in the silence that followed. I told myself it was the distance, the worry, the strain of managing everything alone. I pushed the unease down and focused on the mission. I had no idea those small cracks were the first whispers of a betrayal that would nearly cost me my daughter. I begged the mission commander for emergency leave. He looked at me for a long moment, dust on his beard, eyes tired from too many nights without sleep, then nodded once. 48 hours, Hassan. Not a minute more. We'll hold your post. The flight back felt endless. Turbulence over the Gulf, the smell of airplane coffee turning my stomach, my mind replaying every clipped phone call. Every time Aisha said, she's fine, too quickly. I kept seeing Fatima's face at the airport, her dimples, the way she tucked her dupatta behind her ear when she was nervous. How had I missed the fear in her eyes? When I reached the hospital in Lahore just before dawn, the corridors smelled of disinfectant and old grief. A nurse led me to the ICU. Through the glass I saw her. My little girl, tubes in her arms, monitors blinking red and green, her chest rising and falling too shallowly. 17 days earlier she had swallowed 30 sleeping pills. They found her in the guest room of our own house, door locked, phone switched off. Aisha was sitting beside the bed, head bowed, dupatta fallen to her shoulders. She didn't look up when I entered. I stood frozen in the doorway until the doctor pulled me aside. Mr. Malik, he said quietly, your daughter attempted suicide. She left a note. He handed me a folded piece of paper torn from a spiral notebook. Fatima's neat handwriting, the same one that used to fill birthday cards with long messages. Abu, Emmy, I'm sorry. Couldn't tell you. Bilal found out 3 months ago that I was seeing someone. He said if I didn't stop, he would tell everyone, our relatives, the masjid, the university. He said I would ruin the family name. He said you would never forgive me. I believed him. I thought dying was easier than facing you. My legs almost buckled again. Bilal, my quiet, serious 16-year-old son who still asked me to check his math homework. The boy who brought me tea when I came home late from security briefings. How could the same hands that stirred sugar into my cup have written threats that pushed his own sister toward death? I turned to Aisha. She still hadn't looked at me. You knew, I said. It wasn't a question. She nodded once, slowly. Tears fell onto the bedsheet, but she didn't wipe them. Bilal told me 2 months ago, she whispered. He said it was a boy from her university. A Christian boy. He was afraid people would talk. He made me promise not to tell you. He said you were already carrying too much with the Syria posting. He said he would handle it. Handle it? My voice cracked. By threatening her until she tried to kill herself? Aisha finally raised her eyes. They were red, swollen, haunted. I thought he was protecting the family. I thought if we kept it quiet until you came back, we could fix it together. I was wrong, Hassan. I was so wrong. I walked out of the room because I couldn't breathe inside it. In the corridor, I leaned against the wall, the cool tiles pressing into my palms, and let the sobs come, silent, ugly, the kind that hurt your ribs. My son had blackmailed my daughter. My wife had chosen silence over her child's life. And I had been thousands of miles away, thinking my real danger was bullets and roadside bombs. When I returned, Bilal was there. He must have come straight from school. His tie was still knotted, school bag slung over one shoulder. He looked smaller than I remembered. Abu, his voice trembled. I didn't shout. I didn't raise my hand. I simply asked, very quietly, why? He stared at the floor. I was scared. Everyone would judge us. The aunties, the uncles. They would say we failed as parents. I thought if I frightened her enough, she would stop seeing him. I didn't think she would. You didn't think? I repeated. The words tasted like ash. Aisha stood up. Hassan, please. He's still a child. He's old enough to understand what despair looks like, I said. He saw it on his sister's face every day for months and chose to make it worse. Bilal started crying then, big, choking sobs. I didn't comfort him. Not yet. That afternoon in the hospital room, with the steady beep of the monitor counting Fatima's heartbeat like a metronome, I made the only decision that felt honest. I sat Bilal down on the plastic chair opposite me. Aisha stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself as if holding her own body together. I'm not going to scream at you, I told him. I'm not going to hit you, but from today, everything changes. I explained slowly what shame really costs, not the gossip of relatives or the whispers at Friday prayers. Shame is watching your sister's eyes go dull day after day. Shame is finding her unconscious on the floor of the house you all sleep under. Shame is knowing you helped put her there. You will apologize to her, I said. Not because I'm forcing you, because you understand what you almost took from us. He nodded, tears streaming, but I wasn't finished. You will also speak to the family counselor the hospital recommended. Every week. And when Fatima wakes up, if she wakes up, you will listen to whatever she needs to say. No excuses. No defending yourself. Just listen. Aisha started to speak, but I raised a hand gently. And you, Aisha, you will stop protecting silence. We protect people, not secrets. Next time someone is hurting in this house, we face it together. No more promises made behind closed doors. She nodded, wiping her face with the edge of her dupatta. Over the next 3 weeks, Fatima slowly came back to us. First her eyes opened, then her voice returned. Small, hoarse, but there. She told us about the boy Zain, how kind he was, how he never asked her to hide who she was, how terrified she felt when Bilal found their messages and started sending her screenshots with captions like, "Think of Abu's honor," and "You want to destroy us all?" Bilal sat at the foot of her bed the first time she was strong enough to talk. He didn't interrupt. When she finished, he whispered, "I'm sorry, Api. I was wrong. I was scared of what people would say. But I hurt you more than anyone ever could." She didn't forgive him that day. Forgiveness doesn't come on command. But she looked at him, really looked, and said, "I still love you, Bilal. That's why it hurt so much." Months later, the 4 of us sat again on that same old sofa. The television murmured. Rice steamed in the kitchen. The mango tree outside was heavy with fruit. Things weren't perfect. Scars don't vanish. Bilal still went to counseling. Aisha and I talked every night. Honest, sometimes painful talks, until the words felt less like knives. Fatima transferred to a different university campus, one closer to home, and she still saw Zain, though more openly now. We met him once. He was polite, nervous, respectful. I didn't love the idea, but I loved my daughter more. I returned to Syria only long enough to finish the contract honorably, then came home for good. Some missions end on foreign soil. Others end in hospital corridors and quiet living rooms. What I learned, what I carry with me now, is this: honor isn't preserved by hiding pain. It's preserved by facing it. Together, no matter how ugly it looks. A family name means nothing if the people carrying it are broken inside. I look at my children sometimes and remember how close we came to losing everything. And I thank God, not for the pain, but for the second chance to choose love over fear. If you've ever stayed silent when someone you love was hurting, if you've ever thought protecting the family image mattered more than protecting the family itself, ask yourself this one question tonight. What would you do differently tomorrow? Tell me in the comments below. And if a story like this has ever touched your life, consider subscribing to Broken Trust Stories. We share the hard truths here, so no one has to carry them alone.